Elijah was no ordinary prophet. He stood alone against 450 prophets of Baal. He called down fire from heaven. He prayed, and the rain stopped for 3 years. He was a man of power, faith, and boldness. But then everything changed. One moment he was victorious. The next he was running for his life. Queen Jezebel wanted him dead, and the fearless prophet collapsed under the weight of fear, exhaustion, and despair. Alone in the wilderness, he begged God to take his life. How does someone go from fire-calling faith to absolute hopelessness? And if a man like Elijah could hit rock bottom, what does that mean for us? If you've ever felt exhausted, like you've given everything and it's still not enough, if you've ever questioned why you're even trying, then Elijah's story is for you, because God met him in his lowest moment, and he will meet you too. From fire to fear, Elijah had just experienced one of the greatest victories in biblical history. On Mount Carmel, he proved that the Lord is the one true God. Fire fell. The people repented. The false prophets were destroyed. It should have been a turning point, a spiritual awakening. But instead of revival, he got a death threat. Jezebel swore to kill him by the next day, and Elijah, this man who stood alone against an army of false prophets, ran. He ran deep into the wilderness, left his servant behind, and collapsed under a tree. And there, in 1 Kings 19:4, he prayed the words no prophet of God should pray, "I've had enough, Lord, take my life." The same man who stood against an entire nation now wanted to die. How did Elijah get here? Elijah fell into despair because he believed 3 lies. Lies the enemy still whispers today: your work didn't matter. Elijah thought Mount Carmel would change everything, but it didn't. You're alone. He believed he was the only faithful one left. You're too weak. He had nothing left to give. Maybe you've heard those same lies. Maybe you've believed them. But watch what God does next. God's response to a broken man. Elijah expected God to be done with him. Instead, God met him with grace. An angel appeared, not to rebuke him, but to bring him food and water. No lecture, no condemnation, just strength for the journey ahead. Get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you. 1 Kings 19:7. If you're exhausted, maybe you don't need another push to just have more faith. Maybe you need rest. Maybe God is not mad at you for feeling weak. Maybe he's meeting you in it. Meeting God in the whisper. After Elijah regained his strength, God led him to Mount Horeb. There, Elijah experienced something unexpected. A mighty wind tore through the mountain, but God was not in the wind. An earthquake shook the ground, but God was not in the earthquake. A raging fire blazed, but God was not in the fire. Then came a gentle whisper, and that's where Elijah found him. Sometimes we expect God to move in loud, dramatic ways, but often he speaks in the quiet moments. If you feel like God is silent, maybe he's speaking. You just need to slow down enough to hear him. You are not alone, and you are not done. Elijah thought his mission was over, but God revealed 3 truths that changed everything. You are not alone. There were 7,000 others who had not bowed to Baal. Your work is not wasted. God's plan was bigger than Elijah could see. Your story isn't over. God gave him a new mission, anointing kings and training the next prophet Elisha. If you're ready to give up, hear this. God is not done with you. So what do you do when you hit rock bottom? Elijah's story gives us 3 steps to take when we feel like we have nothing left. First, rest and let God restore you. Elijah didn't get a lecture, he got rest and nourishment. Stop trying to fight on empty. Second, listen for the whisper. God is near even when he feels far. Don't wait for a dramatic sign, lean into his presence now. Third, keep moving forward. Elijah thought his purpose was over, but God still had work for him. If you're still breathing, your mission isn't done. If this spoke to you, drop "I'm still standing" in the comments. Let this be your declaration that no matter how tired you are not done. And if you know someone who needs this, send this to them. Your next chapter starts now.